Welcome to my channel. Today's story begins with an unresolved case from 17 years ago. In November 2003, researchers off the southwestern coast of Australia captured a 3-meter-long female great white shark. They attached a sensor device to its dorsal fin to collect data on ocean temperature, depth, and the shark's migratory patterns. However, this unremarkable experiment took a strange turn 4 months later. One day, the sensor data suddenly showed the shark diving quickly from 250 meters to 580 meters. Simultaneously, the data indicated that the environmental temperature had abruptly risen from 8 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius. Not long after, scientists found the sensor device on a beach dozens of kilometers away, but the great white shark was nowhere to be found. Following this incident, a strange legend began to circulate among a small group. They say that if you analyze the data rationally, there's only one possible explanation. While the 3-meter-long great white shark was cruising at 250 meters, it was suddenly attacked by a mysterious predator. This predator swallowed the shark whole and then dove back to its habitat at 580 meters. Over the next few days, the great white was completely digested inside the predator's stomach, and during this time, the sensor device was excreted and washed up on the beach. Eventually, the researchers retrieved it. In the known concepts of humans, a 3-meter-long great white shark is at the top of the oceanic food chain. However, the data suggested that it was swallowed whole by something else. Later, in 2014, a documentary filmmaker named David Riggs, while filming, heard this story from the researchers, and he was immediately captivated. He kept asking what kind of monster could swallow a 3-meter-long great white shark in one bite. The researchers said it might have been consumed by an even larger great white shark, suggesting that this was the only plausible explanation. Our understanding of the ocean, including sharks, is still very limited. The director further inquired if it could be the legendary megalodon. The researchers smiled, but did not comment. Now, let's share another mysterious case. Let's go back 6 years. On May 10, 2014, the Sea God probe was operating in the deep sea, belonging to the American Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, valued at $8 million, a pinnacle of human technology. That afternoon, in the Chromatic Trench northeast of New Zealand, the Sea God reached a depth of 9,900 meters, the second deepest trench in the world. On the return journey, it found an extension of the seabed at 9,977 meters, where the Sea God extended its mechanical arm to collect sea cucumbers. Suddenly, the camera shook violently, then went dark, and the Sea God went offline. In 2009, the Sea God had set a record by diving to about 11,000 meters in the Challenger Deep of the Mariana Trench, enduring pressures 1,000 times that of the atmosphere. Scientists were confident that this 9,900-meter dive would be easy for the Sea God, believing it would be fine. If it went completely offline for 30 minutes, it was programmed to surface automatically. But 30 minutes passed, then 3 hours, and scientists began to worry. Could this pinnacle of human technology be lost? 10 hours passed, then 20. The scientists were anxiously searching for the Sea God, calculating that by then, it should have automatically surfaced. Then, scientists saw some plastic debris on the surface. They realized in despair that these were fragments of the Sea God, not lost, but exploded. How could this happen? It had operated safely at 11,000 meters for over 10 hours before. Why did it explode at 9,900 meters this time? The scientists kept silent, only stating it was an implosion. However, an anonymous post circulated online, suggesting that the explosion occurred because the Sea God was bitten by something. What kind of creature could bite through at 9,900 meters? Perhaps the unknown creatures of the deep sea far exceed our imagination. Let's turn back to January 21st, 2009, off the coast of Hawaii, where a father and son captured footage of an urban legend. In the video, the son, fishing from a boat, says to his father, "Look, what's that?" The father zooms in with the camera to reveal a massive whale carcass with its lower half missing, as if bitten off by something. This video quickly spread online. fueling an urban legend that the megalodon, thought extinct, still lives in the deep sea, capable of biting through such a large creature. Both the Discovery Channel in the US and The Guardian in the UK have seriously discussed this legend. The answers scientists gave to the media are quite nuanced, but they can be summarized as follows. The megalodon indeed existed about 23 to 3.6 million years ago, with fossils found worldwide. If these fossils were restored to the size of a great white shark, the megalodon might have reached lengths of 30 meters, weighing over 100 tons with a bite force of 35 tons, 10 times that of a T-Rex. Fossil evidence also suggests that megalodons fed on whales and other large sharks. The only question remaining between scientific conclusions and urban legends is whether the megalodon still exists today. Could it be the murderer of the great white shark and the destroyer of the sea god? Let's share two more real-life stories. The kraken was described by ancient European sailors as a giant crab, sometimes whale-like in strength, sometimes terrifying like a squid. The kraken would suck ships into the seabed with such force that the ships would explode into fragments. Sailors often didn't see the kraken before being dragged down by the vortex and tentacles. Survivors would say if you catch many fish in the North Sea, leave immediately because you're fishing on the kraken's head. That's its breakfast. Run away before it gets angry. Modern scientists thought this was pure folklore until a chance discovery suggested that such giant squids could indeed exist and be quite common in deep waters. This chance discovery was ambergris, one of the finest perfumes. Back in the Tang Dynasty, it was coveted by courts worldwide. Ancient people believed it to be nature's essence, found on beaches by chance. In Zhenghe navigational maps, an island called Socotra near Arabia was mentioned where locals have been collecting ambergris for centuries. They told Zhenghe that ambergris is actually the feces of sperm whales, and they chase sperm whales to find ambergris. It was not until the 20th century that scientists confirmed Zhenghe record. Ambergris is a metabolite produced by sperm whales after swallowing squid and other mollusks. Because squid and cuttlefish mollusks have a sharp and hard mouth, I believe they cannot digest this mouth, and this mouth will pierce the digestive tract of sperm whales, so sperm whales will secrete a substance to wrap this mouth. These secretions accumulate over years in the whale's intestines, are expelled, and after decades in the sea, become this precious substance. In 1993, scientists examining 17 captured sperm whales found nearly 29,000 beaks in their digestive tracts. This led to the realization that sperm whales dive into the deep sea primarily to hunt these giant cephalopods. How large are these cephalopods? Analysis shocked the scientists because over 100 years ago, a living giant squid, about 20 meters long, was found, known as the largest sea monster ever encountered, the giant squid. In the stomachs of these sperm whales, thousands of such 20-meter-long giant squids were found. The surprises continued. In 1982, scientists found a giant tentacle remnant in a sperm whale's stomach. Initially thought to be from a giant squid, closer inspection revealed hooks on the suckers, indicating it was a colossal squid. If a squid has arms as thick as those of a giant squid, its size could match that of the mythical kraken. This squid was later named Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni. Now, let's look at another real-life story. On Christmas Eve 1938, South African fishermen near the Comoros Islands caught a strange fish with armor-like scales and a short, bristly tail, highly aggressive. No one had seen such a fish before. It struggled on the deck for 4 hours before dying. A brave sailor touched it, and it snapped its teeth. Back at port, museum curator Miss Latimer purchased the fish, creating a 1.5-meter specimen. Latimer then consulted Professor Smith at the University of Cape Town, who also didn't recognize the fish. He requested to dissect it to classify it. During dissection, Professor Smith's hands shook with excitement. He couldn't believe his eyes. It was a coelacanth, an ancestor of all terrestrial vertebrates, a transitional species between fish and tetrapods, thought extinct for 65 million years. Professor Smith was so excited he reportedly fainted. Upon waking, his first act was to offer a 100-pound reward for capturing another such fish. It wasn't until 1952, 14 years later, that the second coelacanth was caught. The news reached South African Prime Minister Daniel Mallon, who ordered warships and planes to escort the specimen. Seeing the coelacanth, Mallon's first words were, "Oh, so this is what our ancestors looked like." In these two real-life stories, the supposedly extinct prehistoric coelacanth was rediscovered, and unknown deep-sea monsters like the colossal squid were found, bringing us back to those initial mysteries. Many enthusiasts believe the megalodon still lives. In the 2003 incident, it was the megalodon that swallowed the great white shark. They also believe that what bit through the sea god was an undiscovered prehistoric shark with astonishing bite force, capable of diving into the deepest waters, possibly akin to some known deep-sea sharks. Let's talk about another type of shark, the goblin shark. Scientists estimate this species has survived for about 130 million years, from the Cretaceous period to today. It's very primitive with a long snout, protruding jaws, and messy teeth, resembling a goblin. Researchers speculate they can dive below 2,000 meters due to their skin evolving to be semi-transparent, revealing the blood's color. Live goblin sharks caught are a terrifying pink. Their feeding method is also bizarre, like an alien suddenly extending another jaw to snatch prey. This is due to their unique jaw structure, creating negative pressure in the deep sea, sucking prey into their mouth with a sudden expansion and bite, potentially explaining the sea god's explosion. Sharks can sense electrical signals and the Earth's magnetic field through structures called ampullae of Lorenzini. For instance, great whites can detect a drop of blood kilometers away due to their sensitive ampullae. The goblin shark's long snout is specifically adapted for this function, being 10 times more sensitive than a great white's. Hence, catching a goblin shark is very challenging. In 1898, a goblin shark was caught in Sagami Bay, Japan, followed by nearly 2 decades of obscurity until 1922 when Japan caught nearly 100 within 5 months, right before the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923. In 2010, just months before the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, tsunami, and Fukushima nuclear disaster, hundreds were caught again. Scientists noted that goblin shark surfacing might relate to geological activity, though further evidence is needed. Some believe goblin sharks are spirits of the deep sea, having coexisted with Earth for 130 million years, holding depths of understanding beyond human comprehension. Sharks are ancient species, surviving from the Jurassic era 200 million years ago to today. Why do humans have an innate fear of sharks, almost as if it's written in our genes? Perhaps it's an awe of nature. Whales, with their beauty, give back to nature in death by sinking to the seabed. Sharks, like whales, upon ceasing to swim, also sink back to the ocean floor, contributing to the ecosystem. However, scientists have increasingly captured images of sharks, their dorsal fins removed, sinking lifelessly to their deaths, all because their fins are considered a delicacy on dining tables. That's all for today's story. Thank you for listening.